This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Campbell Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, researchers begin excavating the dry-breed cemetery about 10 kilometres north of Otago, searching for unmarked graves. A father believes an investigation into his son's death was inadequate after the child drowned in a pond in Gore in 2019. And the cream of Dunedin businesses were celebrated at a black tie event in the town hall. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. Researchers will today begin the excavation of parts of the dry-breed cemetery about 10 kilometres north of Otago in a bid to locate unmarked graves. The project is run by the University of Otago and Southern Archaeology, with similar sites already examined in Milton, Lawrence and Cromwell.
Both Anglican and Chinese blessings and prayers were performed at the dry-breed cemetery near Otago yesterday. The ceremony paves the way for an archaeological dig assisted by University of Otago Department of Anatomy Research Fellow Dr. Charlotte King in a bid to locate unmarked graves and identify who they belong to.
With this amount of time that's passed, individuals are usually fully skeleton, so we don't expect any soft tissue, although sometimes hair is preserved. Occasionally we get fragments of clothing, but things that are made of sort of natural materials tend to preserve less well in the ground, so it's just those harder tissues like bones and teeth that we tend to find.
Minute samples from any unmarked grave they find will be processed at the University of Otago's laboratory, providing a lot of information about the person buried there.
We might be able to find out where people were from, so whether they were Chinese, whether they were European, whether they were using dangerous chemicals, so the kinds of things that might have killed them in the past. We never guarantee that we can find a cause of death, but looking at that kind of thing. We know a lot of these miners experienced very traumatic lives, so we can see evidence of that trauma in the bones, in healed fractures and not healed fractures. And ultimately we just want to reconstruct their lives enough maybe to be able to identify people, but if nothing else to give a marker of who they were when they are reburied.
Dry-breed was established during the gold rush in the early 1860s, but only lasted about 30 years. Leslie and Macy Wong blessed the ground as a way of giving Chinese approval for the university's archaeological dig.
There are Chinese buried here. We don't know where they are. They've been excised and dumped as marginalised people, possibly outside the cemetery boundary. We don't know. The cemetery had been reboundaried and the Chinese are probably definitely outside the boundaries. But they were the early settlers that had the courage to come here, to break the ground, to lay the foundations for us, the future generations to come.
The dig is expected to finish around mid-December. In Dry-breed, the South Today.
A Dunedin gang member whose punch led to the death of his victim has been apprehended after more than a week on the run. Police say John Boy-Rakete has been arrested and will appear in the Dunedin District Court today. He was released from prison in September after serving 2 years and 2 months behind bars on a charge of causing grievous bodily harm to Nigel Landreth with reckless disregard at a South Dunedin petrol station. The mongrel mob member removed his tracking bracelet on the weekend before last, less than 2 months after leaving prison. At the time, police warned the public not to approach Rakete. The victim died 14 months after the assault, too long after the event for Rakete to be charged with murder or manslaughter. A grieving father believes an investigation into his 3-year-old son's death was inadequate. The child drowned in a pond, which resulted in the Gore District Council being charged with a workplace health and safety breach before the boy's death was ruled accidental.
Paul Jones stands beside the Gore wastewater pond where the body of his 3-year-old son Lockie was found in January last year. Within hours, police concluded that Lockie had accidentally drowned, but his father is now concerned the investigation was inadequate. For instance, it was nearly 2 weeks before he was formally interviewed and over a week before they spoke to his ex-partner with whom Lockie was living at the time.
No, I didn't think we would be allowed to go home that night. I thought they would have asked the questions there and then. I thought, gee, what's going on? I was just amazed, how all of us were just allowed to walk away from it,
Jones cannot believe the 3-year-old ran away late at night, walking barefoot more than a kilometre along mostly a gravel road to the ponds.
I wouldn't be sitting here worried if I thought there was any chance he would have walked there, but I know there's no chance he just walked out there.
Jones is perplexed by a witness saying Lockie had soiled himself that night, but ran away as they tried to change the boy's nappy.
It's a very out of character thing for him to do, but that's not the way she paints him in there, and her friends paint him. Yet the preschool teacher said, he's the most obliging wee boy. He asked him to get his nappy changed and he dives onto the mat,
Lockie's death resulted in the Gore District Council being charged by WorkSafe New Zealand over an alleged breach of health and safety at the ponds. The council pleaded not guilty, and the Otago Daily Times understands a high-profile Queen's Counsel reviewed the police investigation and was unconvinced the death was accidental. In Gore, the South Today.
A motorcyclist involved in the Riders Against Teen Suicide rally last weekend has lost his licence for speeding during the event. Police say a 42-year-old man was travelling at almost 150 kilometres per hour near Waihola. Police received several complaints about riders speeding, despite assurances by organisers that the rally had a no passing or speeding policy. The Tribal Nations Motorcycle Club expressed disappointment and say a disciplinary team are looking into the incident and deciding what action to take. The club said the incident has reinforced its focus on safety for riders and the public. Excellence in business was celebrated in style in Dunedin recently. The Westpac Otago Business Awards are held every 2 years and were presented at the Dunedin Town Hall.
Black ties, glad rags and dance moves were to the fore at the Westpac Otago Business Awards at the Dunedin Town Hall. Accolades were handed out throughout the night before Mercy Hospital was named the Supreme Award winner on top of the organisation's Excellence Award.
But like many other entities, we've got ourselves organised. We've accepted that challenge is a challenge irrespective of how it comes and why it comes. And life goes on, and it's important that we go on, and that's always been the focus, and it will continue to be the focus. If you're an essential service, you need to be there when you're most needed, and 2020 is a good year to be there.
Otago Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Dougal McGowan says 2020 has been an incredible year full of challenges. He says the function is a great opportunity to share business stories. It could be said Southern Furniture Movers Limited pulled off a David and Goliath style achievement, winning the Port Otago Excellence in Distribution and Logistics section ahead of much larger competitors.
I'm quite mind-blown, to be fair. We were up against Main Freight and DHL, they're global businesses. So to have Southern win, just, wow, cool. It's awesome.
A little bit unexpected, very, very, very special.
Accolades were handed out in retail, the not-for-profit sector, the Māori business sector and more, all worthy and serious awards. However, business personality winner Sarah Hussey was pleased to pick up the award.
It's pretty special that you can win an award in the Otago Chamber of Commerce for your personality and not based on, your skills as a businesswoman per se, like time management, rosters, things like that, not good at, but like human connection and, drawing in people and creating a family of customers and our perk fam, and it's just lovely to be recognised actually.
Sarah Hussey owns 3 Central City hospitality businesses with her husband Patrick, the Swan Tap Room and Eatery in Bath Street, the Perk Central and the Perk Exchange Cafes. The Otago Business Awards are held every 2 years. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today. Thousands flocked to the West Coast for the first agricultural show since the COVID-19 lockdown, and Dunedin school pupils are given the opportunity to find gold.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
Hi, Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. And check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Allied Press and the Otago Daily Times are an integral part of business in Otago and the South, and these awards are really our opportunity to celebrate and amplify what goes on in this part of the world and the successes that we have.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Welcome back. Emergency services were called to Port Otago this afternoon to an accident involving a side loader. A huge gust of wind sent the loader toppling over while it was shifting a container. Port Otago Chief Executive Kevin Winders says the loader operator was uninjured and was able to get out of the machine unassisted. He says the loader was lifting an empty container at the time. A crew from the Port Chalmers Volunteer Fire Brigade as well as St John attended the accident. WorkSafe has also been notified. Thousands of people flocked from Canterbury and Otago to the West Coast for the first agricultural show since the COVID-19 lockdown. Organisers moved the date to take the spot vacated by the Christchurch show, which wasn't held.
The thousands of people who flocked to the West Coast for AgFest 2020 were greeted with livestock of all shapes and sizes, trade displays and all the major facets of a classic Kiwi agricultural and pastoral show. AgFest 2020 co-organiser Tracy Anderson says being the first major AMP show after the COVID lockdown has been a bit stressful.
It's been a bit of an up and down ride, a few little nerves, a bit of stress, but we've actually got there in the end, and we're happy to actually open the gates and let people come in.
There's nothing quite like petting sheep at an AMP show or leading a miniature horse around like it's an oversized dog. Anderson says holding the event on the coast has been a welcome cash injection.
We are absolutely delighted that the West Coast economy can have this here. A lot of the stall holders have told us that they have not been to anything since March, February, so it's great that we're able to hold this on the coast.
Taking a step away from conventional agriculture are the stallholders in the wild food tent, offering edible insects and gorse.
So we've got a bit of hummus, black ants and cricket, so they're all farmed for human consumption, so have a nice sort of nutty taste and a bit salty. And then we've also made some gorse flour and coconut scones. So trying to add in a forage theme this year as well, because there's so much abundance on the west coast. It doesn't just have to be wild meat, there's so many other wild foods that you can try.
Organisers had been expecting around 20 to 30,000 people through the gates over the weekend. In Greymouth, the South Today.
Dunedin school pupils were given the opportunity to find gold while spending a day at the University of Otago's geology department. The youngsters had a go at gold panning and creating mini earthquakes as part of the outreach program.
These Year 10 pupils from Kaikarai Valley College and Logan Park High School had the chance to strike it rich by panning for gold in an outreach session put on by the University of Otago Geology Department yesterday. The sedimentary sand was sourced for the pupils by Associate Professor James Scott.
So there's gold all through central Otago in the sedimentary rocks, and so I went out and collected just some buckets of it and brought it back to geology.
The outreach included a look at how the environment and topography can influence each other, as well as interpreting data from a cell phone app that can read the S and P waves generated by earthquakes. The Year 10 pupils, who are equivalent to fourth formers, are at a point in their lives to see if sciences such as geology might appeal to them.
Year 10 they're still finding out what their interests are, and we're trying to just sort of demonstrate that geology is a science, and it's an important science and contributes to a variety of different environments.
I mean, I really enjoy science, but I want to do something to do with tourism, I think.
I'm not good at maths, but apparently according to grades and the fact that I'm here, I'm pretty good at science, so I might try out that, give it a wee bit of a go.
Professor Scott says there's more jobs out there for geology graduates than just in the oil fields and gold mines.
A number of our students do go and graduate and work in exploration or environmental sides of things, but I mean a lot of students end up working in councils, working as academics, so it's more than just what we're also trying to convey today is that it's more than just about resources and extraction of resources.
In the end, most of the pupils managed to take home a flake or two of gold with an estimated value of 10 cents. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, we hear the latest in cricket news and we check out tomorrow's weather.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
One of our core values is to be great, and to us that means flourishing and thriving and being at the top of your game. It's also striving for excellence. Celebration of success provides validation of hard work and recognises that best practice leads the way for all of us. Particularly in a year with so much uncertainty, it's great to be able to come together and shine a light on the successes.
Hi, our Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. And check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Step into Shop on Carrot and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
TV, our favourite babysitter, but it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Welcome back. The West Indies cricket team, fresh out of 2 weeks in quarantine, were greeted by Queenstown's Mayor Jim Bolt yesterday. Numbering about 40 in total, the team are the largest influx of international visitors to Queenstown in 8 months.
COVID's brought us some challenges. We haven't had international visitors in our district since March of this year. You're the first group of any size international that's arrived, so really big welcome on behalf of the town, on behalf of the council, in fact on behalf of New Zealand as a whole.
Members of the team are preparing for their first warm-up game against the New Zealand A team in Queenstown, which begins on Friday morning. The team will be based in Queenstown until the T20I team heads to Auckland ahead of its first game against the Black Caps at the end of the month. The Test side will remain in Queenstown to play its second warm-up game in the resort before it heads to Hamilton for the first Test match against the Black Caps in early December. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. Researchers began excavating the parts of the Drybreed Cemetery about 10 kilometres north of Otago in a bid to locate unmarked graves. The grieving father believes an investigation into his 3-year-old son's death was inadequate after the child drowned in a pond in January 2019. And the cream of Dunedin businesses were celebrated at a black tie event in the town hall. And now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Hayden.
Good evening, Sophie.
Good
How are
evening.
you?
Good. Yourself?
Good, very good. Lots happening. George Street. Now, stop me if you've heard this before, but one way, two way, which way will it go? And I'm not sure, actually. They've been meeting all afternoon at the council. I haven't had a chance yet to catch up with Grant Miller, our council reporter, to see if there's been a resolution to that debate, but I hope there is, and I hope it's going to create lots of feedback, and we'll put it on page 1 tomorrow. So.
Great.
Wind, it was quite windy out there today, and we've got a cracking photo of out at Port Chalmers, Port Otago, one of their side lifters, sort of a big crane that hoists those containers, blown over in the wind and knocked over a couple of containers as well, so fairly spectacular. Jim Bolt's talking about tourism, and obviously Stuart Nash, the new tourism minister, has been talking a lot about tourism in the past couple of days. His proposal was to target the more high-end tourists, to get wealthy tourists in here spending money, go away from the high-volume, low-income tourism. Jim Bolt's saying he's all in favour of that. He thinks the sort of massive influx of low-cost tourists has been rough on Queenstown's infrastructure especially. So some interesting thoughts there. People have different sides of the debate, I guess. Pike River, now Thursday is 10 years since the Pike River disaster. So thanks to our good friends at the Grey Star, we've got a lovely splash on Pike River running tomorrow. Talking to some of the key people involved, relatives of the victims, and how the inquiry and the re-entry is going and all that sort of stuff. So, and then Thursday a moment's silence for 10 years since Pike River. And in sport, an interesting yarn, Rachel Puller is a bit of a blast from the past. Rachel was a superb cricketer. She was New Zealand women's cricketer, a very talented fast bowler and batsman. She was a really good cricketer. She's talking to us tomorrow about her new life in the racing world. She's the new boss out there at Forbury Park, and that's got plenty of challenges ahead of it as well. So she's a talented woman, Rachel, and she's got some thoughts about the racing industry. So it should be interesting.
Great, thank you, Hayden. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Starting with a southern view, competitors lining up to take their turn at a school sports day. Looking at the situation, much colder air will arrive over southern New Zealand tonight with a strong southwesterly airflow and widespread showers tomorrow, easing on Thursday. Starting off at the northwest of the South Island, it's set to rain with 17 degrees in Greymouth and 16 in Westport. To the northeast, rain as well with 17 degrees in Blenheim and 18 in Nelson. In Canterbury, more rain with 17 degrees in Kaikoura, 14 degrees in Christchurch and 14 in Ashburton. To the southern towns, strong southwesterlies and showers clearing with 11 degrees in the Catlins and 12 degrees in Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore. To the Central Lakes, southwesterlies and showers clearing with 12 degrees in Queenstown, Wanaka and Alexandra and 11 degrees in Te Anau. To the northern towns, gusty southwesterlies and showers with 17 degrees in Timaru, 15 in Oamaru and some rain with 13 degrees in Twizel and Omarama. In Dunedin, fine tonight with southwesterlies and an overnight low of 12. Overcast tomorrow with showers from mid-morning and fresh gusty southwest winds becoming strong for a time early afternoon, then decreasing. Showers clearing tomorrow night, a high of 13 and a low of 8. Cloudy and cool on Thursday with southwesterly winds slowly dying out, a high of 14 and a low of 5. And in Invercargill, showers tonight with gusty winds and an overnight low of 9. Cloudy with showers tomorrow and strong cold southwesterlies. Fine periods increasing during the afternoon and showers clearing by evening with winds slowly decreasing. High of 12 and a low of 7. Cloudy at first on Thursday but sunny periods increasing during the day and cool southwesterly winds dying out. High of 14 and a low of 7. That's all for our news this Tuesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Campbell Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.